The rise of AI influencers is going to be remarkable.
There's a rise of artificially intelligent influencers, accounts with hyper-realistic posts, heartfelt captions, and thousands upon thousands of adoring fans. Some companies are looking to these AI influencers to be the face of their brands.
Percent of American consumers have purchased something that was promoted by a virtual influencer.
Are AI influencers about to replace creators, or is it a bubble that's about to burst?
I'm actually getting really pissed off about the use of AI in the media, in artistic endeavors, books, music even, influencers who are AI.
Right now, we're in the middle of an AI influencer epidemic.
But at the end of the day, opinions don't really matter. The purpose of influencer marketing is still to put $1 in and ultimately get more than $1 out. So are AI influencers here to stay? I decided to investigate this question. I'm going to share both sides of the argument, and at the end, I'll share a key takeaway from this research and how it will impact the future of influencer marketing. First, the Wharton School of Business conducted some pretty interesting research on the topic, and they found these statistics.
58% of American consumers follow at least one virtual influencer. That 40% of American consumers have purchased something that was promoted by a virtual influencer, and that VI market is going to reach $11 billion this year.
And there are some pretty major brands working with AI influencers. In 2019, Prada partnered with AI influencer Lil Miquela to be a virtual runway host, and it generated 12 million organic views and a 30% higher engagement rate than their traditional human ambassadors. In addition to Prada, Lil Miquela has also worked with brands like Calvin Klein, Samsung, and a bunch of others. But Lil Miquela isn't the only popular AI influencer. For example, Japanese AI influencer Ima has about 380,000 followers on Instagram and has worked with some of the largest brands in fashion. In 2024, Coach's Find Your Courage campaign merged Ima's CGI journey alongside real celebrities like Lil Nas and Camila Mendes. And this Brazilian AI influencer has done collaborations with brands like Vogue, Red Bull, and McDonald's. Now, beyond the stats, if you look through some of these AI influencers' profiles, they really do look exactly like human Instagram influencers. For example, take this one. If you glance through her page, you'll see that it looks very much like a traditional influencer's page. Even the brand endorsements look quite organic. And as I look through these AI influencers' profiles, the good ones have very similar branding and personalities throughout their content. And I can see how a person might begin to enjoy following them and even build like an emotional attachment to them. It's kind of similar to how you might grow to like a character in like a book or a movie. For example, is it that much different from growing an attachment to a character like Harry Potter? And frankly, the fact that an entire Harry Potter theme park exists really does prove that people are willing to spend money to be associated with a particular character. Exactly the same way that people are willing to spend money on like a $300 pair of shoes from Nike just because it's associated with a celebrity. And AI influencers are owned and controlled by a revenue-driven company, so they're often a lot easier to work with than human influencers. In fact, the agency that created this influencer said that they made her just due to cancellation issues with real influencers. There's also less risk of an AI influencer with a controversy because, again, a revenue-driven agency is controlling them. Now, I do say less risk because, as I'll illustrate later in this video, the risk isn't zero, as Lil Miquela did end up receiving some backlash from audiences. And there's also the benefit of a potentially lower cost, because fewer brands are open to working with AI influencers, so you might be able to get a more competitive rate for an AI influencer than a human influencer with similar statistics. According to a 2024 report from Influencer Hub, the average cost per post for a human influencer was $5,000, whereas the average cost for a virtual influencer was $1,200. But as much as marketers may like to believe that robots are the future, there's also some undeniable negative sentiment around AI and AI influencers in particular. So are these just angry influencers scared that their jobs are being replaced? What does the data actually say? Well, according to a study from Collabster in October of 2024, 86% of brands consented to include AI creators in their influencer campaigns. But by mid-2025, that number had fallen to 60%, with brands growing wary of potential backlash. Meanwhile, according to the World Federation of Advertisers, 96% of brands had no plans to work with virtual influencers and cited consumer trust issues as the reason. And the consumer trust issue seems to be the crux of the problem with AI influencers. Of course, there are plenty of stats that show consumers are mistrustful of AI in general, but the issue runs deeper than just that. The real problem is that AI influencers fundamentally lack the one key reason that makes influencer marketing uniquely more powerful than traditional paid ads. See, influencers are essentially word-of-mouth recommendations at scale. So for example, if you want to buy makeup, you might ask your friend for a recommendation for what's best. And one reason influencers can sell products is that quality influencers have trust at scale. But an AI influencer? Well, they can't actually try products and experience life in the way that a real human can. And that makes any reviews or recommendations essentially baseless claims. The key element that they lack is authenticity. So sure, an AI influencer can promote a product, but the audience knows that the influencer has never actually tried the product, and therefore they can't give a genuine review of it. And this starts to cross into a gray area that can be considered misleading advertising, and it can ultimately result in backlash on the brand. For example, if you have an AI influencer promoting your makeup brand, you need to be very careful to ensure that you aren't implying that the AI influencer is wearing the makeup in the post, because that would just be a false claim given that the entire influencer is AI generated. And it's these subtleties that can cause backlash and actually erode brand trust. Perhaps a more serious version of this was the campaign AI influencer Lil Miquela did with a healthcare brand. So for the campaign, Lil Miquela claimed to develop leukemia, and it ultimately eroded the trust with the healthcare brand. And remember when I said that most marketers are excited about working with AI influencers because it reduces the risk of scandals? Well, the Lil Miquela leukemia collaboration proves that even AI influencers can get into scandals. But this doesn't mean that all human influencers are authentic either. Authenticity is really a range. Just because you hire a real human influencer doesn't automatically mean that you're going to get the benefits of authenticity. For example, when Oprah promoted Microsoft on her tablet, that was not very authentic. And it isn't just her. There are plenty of influencers who promote products that they don't genuinely use or believe in, and consumers can tell. So what's the takeaway here? Are AI influencers really worth it? In short, I'd say that AI influencers can drive immediate revenue, especially if the campaign checks these 3 boxes. So first, the product that you're offering doesn't require high trust to make the purchase. So for example, if it's a beauty product or you're just illustrating how a consumer app works, that might work. But if you're promoting like a cybersecurity product, it probably won't. Secondly, you pick an influencer who has a strong character, as in they have a clear personality the same way that a character in a movie might. And finally, you position the post in a way that doesn't make it appear as though the AI influencer has tried the product or reviewed it. Instead, you promote the collaboration in a way that makes the AI influencer and what they stand for essentially just associated with your product. So that's the best case scenario that I see for an AI influencer campaign. But that isn't to say that AI influencers are the best use of your budget. There's still a lot of negative sentiment around AI and AI influencers in particular. And in a world that's becoming increasingly filled with AI-generated content, people really crave genuine authenticity. But that isn't to say that all human influencers are authentic either. The real lesson is that the best influencer partnerships are those that have strong trust, credibility, and authenticity. People who genuinely believe in the brand and align with what it stands for. Otherwise, there's really no benefit to influencer marketing over paid ads. So what are your thoughts? Have you ever hired an AI influencer? Or are you always going to stick with human creators? Let us know in the comments below.